ARTalk one-on-one with Mr. Burgher.
You sent me this article today on this huge discovery that archaeologists made in Pompeii.
Yeah.
What were you so... I mean, it was cool,
Yeah,
but...
it came out of just not terribly long ago. And basically, these archaeologists discovered, and they're constantly excavating and digging around the Pompeii site in Italy, and they discovered this private bathroom, which it was kind of believed that everybody used the public baths and the public facilities, the public, like nobody had a private shower, a private bath, but it was determined that that was clearly untrue. There was a private bath. They had a hot showers and cold showers and different things, different levels, 3 different levels of showers or tubs, baths, whatever, in their own private home. And so it was pretty cool discovery.
Yeah. Well, and it was immaculate. I mean, if it was used to socialize and have larger groups of people?
Yeah, they would have all kinds of different events and things like that going on, apparently. But again, it's one of those things where new things are coming out constantly, just like new episodes.
There you go. I was just going to say that, just like new episodes of Art One-on-One. So let's go ahead and start. I'm your pod boss, Nicole Jordan, alongside your professional artist and apparently cool, calm, and collected master educator, Mr. Burgher.
Always calm. Always taking it easy. Always having a little bit of, I'm not opposed to having a little refreshment. I think that this time we took a look at our friends from Art Boozled. Take a look at their book. And you can find this anywhere quality books are sold. Written by Jennifer Kroll, and she has put together this great list of art-focused cocktails. Today, I've rolled another one out for us to enjoy.
Our artist that you're focusing on is Marina Abramović?
Yes. And she's not like a painter or a sculptor per se. She's a performance artist. This is kind of in the world of art, sometimes it's hard for beginning folks to wrap their head around what performance art is. It's not really putting on a performance like a musical or a play or making a movie. It's kind of like Pee Wee Herman. It's kind of like WWE wrestling. It's kind of like putting on a performance or a show, and you have to suspend a little bit of disbelief. You have to open your eyes and your mind to what is being presented and just kind of take it for what it's worth. Again, maybe not the best way to describe it, but that's how I often describe it to folks trying to figure out what the heck is performance art. And
it's interesting. I bet this is going to be interesting because she is a very interesting, when you look at, she would push her body to the limits. Yes. She would harm herself. She would do some other things
to be fair to the drink, however, there's 2 components to it, and I've mixed them into one component. Just to be fair, there's one component that's kind of the juice component, and then there's one component that is the adult beverage type component, and I fused the 2 components together.
And the recipe, they're normally not?
They're normally not.
So you would drink them separately?
You drink them separately.
Have you tried this drink?
No, I've never had this.
And what is it called?
Marina Abramović. Marina
Abramović.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
So, cheers.
Got a little jalapeno on
don't eat the jalapeno because that's spicy. You don't like it? I do.
I mean, I'll give it one more try, but it. I don't even know how to describe it.
It's like a Bloody Mary.
It is not, though. Maybe it's the pepperiness of it. I mean, I love Bloody Mary. It's a good Bloody Mary is not like this.
I think it's good.
I mean, I'll sip on it because you made it. Yeah. I mean, it's a very weird drink, so to me, it's appropriate for her as an artist, because just listening to the short amount of information I did about her, she's just very intriguing, very off the charts a little bit as far as what she does. But she's got a pretty traumatic upbringing, doesn't she?
She grew up with, her parents were not the most engaged parents. Raised by a grandparent. The parents were in and out, and just lots of issues, lots of personal issues, and kind of got into the arts, and that was kind of like the one thing that mom and dad could agree on when they went their own separate ways, and mom and dad could both agree, hey, yeah, art seems like a good thing to do.
She's very deep when she talks about like when she started art, and I think she said she had her first art show at age 12 or something like that.
Yeah, pretty young.
But she was talking about like the first time she like had this spiritual experience with looking at the sky, and her dad was in the military.
Both of her parents were in the military.
Oh, both of them were in the military. Mm-hmm. And she was like wanting to go have them do something in a plane, and they thought she was absolutely out of her mind, and which didn't help things. And I don't know. The drink definitely reflects the art of
Marina
Abramović. Another artist that we're going to discuss today that's kind of on the other end of the spectrum would be Bob Ross. You and I watched a movie called...
A documentary
called Bob Ross. Happy Accidents, Betrayal, and Greed. And that is going to start our segment on the Art Vault.
Art Vault, again, has been unopened or reopened for us to go in and take a look at some Bob Ross. Bob Ross is a pretty... that's the one thing, like, when I go to kids and say, who's your favorite artist? I mean, 9 times out of 10, with youngsters, they say Bob Ross. They know Bob Ross. They know the name Bob Ross.
Well, and a lot of it is, there's still a lot of Bob Ross,
merch.
Yes, merch, that's the word I was looking for. Merch out and about, and then knowing the story, it makes me want to just not buy any of that.
And you know what? That's one of those things where, I bought, and I get solicited all the time, on Facebook or whatever, because I watch the movie and I watch the stuff and I look at the things. But the fact of the matter is that, there was a time that I bought the action figure and the bobblehead and the t-shirt and the, I bought a few Bob Ross things. The documentary definitely swayed my opinion on that. I feel horribly for his son. I empathize with him. In my life, I have gone through very similar, although different, on a different scale, but similar things where you think, this is what my parents want to do for me. This is kind of the way things are going to happen. And then in the end, there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee that the things that your parents say are going to happen are actually going to happen. You don't ever know until it's actually in your hand, till it's actually in your name, till it's actually there. And it seems as though the speculation is, right. I don't know, I'm not involved. So don't sue me. But the speculation is that Bob Ross wanted his son, and he wanted to set his son up to get whatever.
To take over his name.
And his brother
own the
pretty
rights
much,
of his name.
Sabotaged him.
Yeah.
And the people that were in charge of the painting show, whatever the heck, I don't know, it doesn't matter, kind of sabotaged him a little bit.
Yeah, I can't remember their names.
Who cares? I don't even want to plug them. I don't want anything to do with them.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that it's, I can empathize with that. I can identify with that. And again, I feel bad for his son. And his son is out there and he's doing it. And he's painting and he's doing the thing that his dad probably would have wanted him to do. But still, he's earning it,
name. Right.
Yeah, he can't. Not only can he not use his dad's name, but he can't use his own name. And I think that's crap. Just because, whatever.
I don't know. I mean, part of me wonders whether it's like a true story or not. But because those people that pushed at the end, for him, to get his name or to keep his rights or to have the rights to his name,
right.
They wouldn't do an interview. That to me, like, if you can't defend yourself, well then,
right. Well, and again, you don't want to walk into the lion's den, so to speak, and say, all right, I'm going to share my side of the story, and you don't know how they're going to edit it. You don't know how they're going to clip it together, because I could clip it together and make them look like they're, Mary and Joseph, and I could also clip it together and make them look like the devil.
Right.
So, it depends. Editing, it's huge, and they can make you look like a snake or whatever.
Right. Speaking of, making yourself look like someone, it sounds like, just based on part of the interview, his son was talking about why. I think he asked his dad at one point why he was so quiet and calm.
Yeah.
And he must not have been that way normally at home. And I just thought that was so interesting. He was just trying to come across as the ladies' man, which Bob Ross does not come across that way to me. But he was wanting to capture a certain audience. And I think there was another artist out there that he was maybe learning from that was kind of
the
brash.
opposite.
Yeah. And so that was interesting. I don't know. He kind of made this character.
Yeah. But I think most TV personas do that. It's performance art. It's putting on a bit of a show and a little bit of a smoke and mirror show. It's putting on an act to present this thing. Yes, caress the canvas. Just give it a little kiss. Yes.
That sounds more like Hulkamania art than what his art sounds like. Not Hulkamania. Who would be the one that you're trying to sound sound like?
I have no idea what you're talking about, because
you sound like one of the wrestlers. You sound like one of the voices of one of the wrestlers, like Macho Man or something. I don't know who it is.
Macho Man talks more like this.
That is, you did.
Oh yeah.
That undertone.
No.
Regardless, the story was awful.
Bob Ross kind of had that
that
smooth sort of, caress the canvas, sort of, and it was more the words than the voice.
It was the level of his voice as well.
Yeah, I mean, no, I get that, and he was. He'd have the little bird, he'd find birds that fell out of the nest, or a squirrel in his pocket, or a possum that he hit on the way to the studio, or whatever he was doing. I mean, he would drag these animals into the studio and help him paint a picture.
He seemed like a pretty compassionate guy that got taken advantage of. But, to be honest,
Absolutely.
it was a terrible story, and at least I think the purpose of the story was to get that information out there that, hey, people, don't go and buy this merch, because it's not even the way they're getting their money is wrong. It shouldn't go to them. It should have went to his son. But the story itself, the documentary itself was
And
I had troubles watching it. You know that.
You did not like the documentary. At the end of the day, I can say that I appreciated the documentary. It wasn't the most action-packed. It was a little bit redundant. I think they had a quota of time I'm sure they had to fill, and they kind of spoke in circles, little caresses of circles across the film. But at the end, I did enjoy the content. I liked that this information was out in the open.
Right.
And you will not probably find me in any near future buying any of the Bob Ross products that are coming from.
Which is sad because he should still have, a lot of artists after they pass away have such an impact, even more so sometimes,
right.
More so after they pass away. And it's, I think if people understand this, it's just going to kind of drizzle out and go away. Yeah. And
it tarnishes the legacy. And I think that, he's a good-hearted person. He's like you've got Jim Henson, you've got, Steve Irwin, you've got LeVar Burton, Reading Rainbow guy. You've got these Mr. Rogers. You've got these characters from our childhood that are just like these really good role models for whatever. Obviously, this isn't across the board, but Bob Ross is kind of, for me, kind of taken off the table because, if I buy the Bob Ross socks or something, the money's going to something or someone that I don't
want to support.
I don't want to support
at all.
Personally, you can do what you want. I don't care what you do, but I'm not doing it.
All right. So what do you give that? Not that we used a rating scale, but I gave it everything's low for me today. Your drink's a 1. The documentary's maybe a 4
it was low in terms of like action and really like great quality stuff, but it was, to me, it was like a 9 in terms of like giving me the information that I needed to be able to make an educated decision moving forward.
Yeah, because you struggled watching through it because you knew we were going to have it on the Art Vault. Any typical person would be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to shut this off. I can't handle it anymore.
Maybe.
Longer, because that's what I wanted to do.
But maybe someone would say, you know what, I want to see what happens with the son. I want to see what happens with the...
You clearly see what happens to the son. He's doing an interview in his home in a card table chair.
Yeah.
He doesn't obviously have a lot.
Well, but I think he's doing okay. He's making his way in the art world,
Well,
the art
that
game
movie gave him some cash.
Yeah. Well, like they say, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. AC/DC.
Okay.
Right on, dude.
No idea. You're doing a lot of voices. This
today.
is a thing of yours lately. Are you going to post any of these? So this is off topic obviously, but you've been trying out your hand with commercials, recording commercials, and you're good at that because just like you're doing here with your voice and changing it and acting, and I think this may be another love of yours besides creating pictures of yourself on AI.
Yeah. Well, I'm much better at doing commercials and publicizing things that I believe in, like this quality product right here. Scholars, are you familiar with Bow Ties of Vermont? If not, you need to go to the website and check out their huge supply of bow ties, neckties, pocket squares, and all kinds of formal accessories that you can use to dress up, add pattern to, add design to your wardrobe, whether that's, again, for the formal business professional, or it could just be to add a little fun and flair to the wardrobe, maybe for a formal wedding or prom type occasion, any kind of thing that you got going on where you need some exquisite, eye-catching formal wear for the neck, like the tie that I'm popping today. These are handcrafted right here in the United States, and they have been doing business since 1993, and they stand by their products. I highly recommend you going to the website and checking them out.
Well, that was interesting.
Don't be sarcastic.
How long did it take you to do one of those?
Don't be sarcastic.
I'm not. I thought you did a great job, but I want to know, like, did it take, like, 5 takes, 40 takes?
No. 40 takes. How much time do you
If I did something
got?
like that, you... Okay,
How much
I
time
sit
do
and
you-
listen to you edit videos for hours upon hours. I know how much time you have.
Yeah, but that's like, if I've got an hour long of material, it's going to take at least an hour to go through it all.
So how many takes?
Usually like 4 or 5. Like the first couple times I'll stumble through it, because I can't, being dyslexic, I can't just read the card. It'll sound horrible. So I have to memorize it, and then it'll take me a minute to remember all of the pieces and put them all together so that they work right. And then I edit it all together, put a little music in the background, and do the whole to make it all function. But yeah.
I have came to realize I cannot read cards at all. Or I just have to have a topic in mind, know like the important points I want to focus on, and then just kind of jump back and look at it. Because if I'm having to like read something, I can't. It just doesn't work. It doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. I hear that.
Yeah, but I think you do read a lot. Don't you read a lot you do a lot of voiceover stuff. I don't do that.
Well, what I do is, like when I do a voiceover for the videos, like I'll read it and then I'll deliver it. So I'll read like the paragraph and I'll like have it kind of in my head, and then I'll deliver it, and I'll kind of jump around trying to put it all together, and then I've got to go in and edit and take out the gaps and slide it together.
That whole process is interesting, and it's an form of art in itself.
It is an art,
honestly.
It's almost a performance art.
Well, the voiceover part is, but not creating the movies and editing and.
Yeah. So they say.
All right. Well, I'm moving on.
To?
New topic. ARTalk. Are you going to say what ARTalk is?
Well, people know that ARTalk is based upon a set of cards that I found in my desk. I don't know where. I'm just being honest. I found them in my desk, and now we pull them. There's 52 cards in the deck, just like a standard deck of cards.
Yeah.
And I gave them to you, and you manage the cards. And every week that we do it, you read a card, and it gives you a little...
We don't need to go that in-depth. You could just get a brief description like you normally do of anything else.
Okay.
ARTalk. In ancient Egypt, artists followed strict rules in portraying the human figure. While the head and legs were shown in profile, the shoulders were often pictured from the front. With this method, the artist was able to give a more complete view of the person being represented. If you were having your portrait painted, what pose would you choose?
I think this is a ridiculous question.
I agree.
I think that, like, I'm going to give my hands on the hips, look to the side, superhero type pose.
You would do the.
I would give
too close, but like
it'd be like the AI type pose, like one of these, like one of these jobs. I'd do one of those, but like really, who cares? Like and number two, beyond the fact of like how irrelevant is it how I'm going to pose, I think it's going to be determined largely by the subject. If I'm doing as we've talked about before, if I'm doing an American Gothic style whatever, I'm going to be posed to look like that. If I'm doing some sort of action, or if I want some sort of thing presented in a certain way, I'm going to have a body gesture that is relevant to the topic of the the thing.
Right.
I'm not just, I mean, it depends on what the self-portrait is, what the portrait is. Is it me playing chess, or is it me going for a hike, or is it me just standing on a cliff or swimming in the ocean? I don't know. It just depends.
Well, I think a better topic regarding this card would be how art has changed as far as profiling people. Like when ancient Egypt, obviously they did it a certain way, and then kind of seeing that progression and how that played out from there. I don't know, like the different time periods, like the Gothic and the whatever. Like, was it really that drastically different?
Yes, because in ancient Egypt, and the other thing, you're comparing apples and oranges. In ancient Egypt, it was the law. It was the law that you had to make things that way.
Show me what this means.
Which is why, the
shoulders were pictured from the front.
So you have your shoulders like this, but your feet were to the side.
Your head and legs were profiled.
So you see the feet, you see both feet to the side, and you see your shoulders are straight, and your face is this way. So you're like an owl with your neck like this.
So why was that law? What would be the point of that?
Here's the point. How long was the ancient Egyptian empire creating artwork that looked the same? Thousands of years, right? It looks the same from the beginning to the end because it was the law. If you're an artist, you don't put your name on it, number one, because all power goes to, all glory goes to the pharaoh, not the peon that draws, not the sculpture man or man, the pharaoh. That's it, bottom line. The other thing is, you have to do it by their mathematic way.
Proportions?
It's their proportions. This is how big the head is. If the head is this big, this is how big the body is. If the body is this big, this is how big the legs are. It's all mathematical. It's got to be this way. This is how you depict it. It was the law. There was no, I want to draw my way. No. Who cares what you want to do? This is not about you. This is about the pharaoh. The pharaoh is God.
Was their culture all very controlling?
Yes.
That makes me not want to go to Egypt. I'm assuming that's changed drastically.
I mean, we're a long way away from ancient Egypt.
Well, I understand that, but
the fact of the matter is that for thousands of years, the style of Egypt didn't change one iota. But how quickly, Impressionism, which you love, Impressionism lasted for 10 years. And we think, oh my gosh, Impressionism was we have classes on that. And it was only 10 years long. It wasn't like ancient Egypt, which, again, thousands of years. Modern art is maybe 20 years. Surrealism, true surrealism, you're talking about a 20-year run, and that's a good run. That's a good long run for an art movement. 20 years, that's impressive.
Right.
To get a bunch of people on the same page to make a bunch of art the same way, that's impressive. But 1,000 years? Unbelievable. That's why they were able to do it. And if you had everybody being controlled to make art according to a very tight specification, then, you could probably make all kinds of things happen.
So what are some other art movements that lasted a large amount of time?
Really, you've got the oldest art movements lasted the longest because, just because of the nature of the movement, the the nature of like ancient Egypt. Like everything was done a certain way. Because of that, it was very long. Then after that, they get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. I mean, the Renaissance, even look at the Renaissance. The Renaissance didn't last anywhere close to 100 years, not even 100 years.
When you're teaching art history or art appreciation, do you spend a lot of time on ancient Egypt just because of that, the time frame that it was out there? Because I feel like it's not spent, you don't spend a lot of time on that.
Well, you can't, because when you're talking about a class like art appreciation, you're talking about you've got to cover from the beginning of, cave painting to usually like you get to modern art. You start to maybe dabble in contemporary art. So you go from, the beginning of time to that we know to, 1970, let's say. Well, that's a whole lot of time to cover, and if you which is why in college you can take an entire class on ancient Egypt. You can take an entire class on the New Kingdom or the Old Kingdom. You can take an entire class on just a phase of Egypt, let alone the totality of it, I guess.
So talking recently, what would be the most recent movement for art that you would say is out there?
We don't know. The only way to answer that is we don't know. For example, most art movements aren't named by the movement makers. The Impressionists named themselves.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So they said, we are the Impressionists, and then from that point forward, they were known as the Impressionists. But prior to naming themselves the Impressionists, they didn't have a name. They just kind of worked together. And then became the Impressionists, and then henceforth, Impressionists.
Right.
But that's an anomaly. For example, during the medieval time period, the Dark Ages, they had if you went back in time in your DeLorean and you went to the, medieval castle and you said, hey, I'm in the medieval times. They're going to be like, what the hell is a medieval times? Oh, it's the Dark Ages. What in the world are you talking about, the Dark Ages? What do you mean? Like, they would have, number one, they probably wouldn't speak English like us, so they wouldn't have a clue what you were saying. But number two, they would have no clue what those labels meant, because those labels weren't given to them by them. They weren't given until the Renaissance. During the Renaissance, they said, hey, remember that art you used to make? Yeah, that was the Dark Ages, because you guys were making, not very good stuff. So we're going to bring it back to the Renaissance. And because we are wanting to redo something, then eventually, not right away, but eventually they would become known as the Renaissance. What does Renaissance literally mean? Rebirth. What is it a rebirth? What is it a rebirth of? It's a rebirth of the classic ideas from the Greeks and the Romans. And so, again, sometimes the name makes
I get
sense.
what you're saying, but what's the last one we've named? The most recent one we have named?
I don't know. I don't know what the most recent art movement is. It could be pop surrealism. It could be like pop art. It could be photorealistic. I don't know. It could be. I couldn't tell you what the most recent art movement is.
Well, because there's so much going on at one time.
Well, and most of the things that, like I said, most of the things that are happening now, we don't know what they're called yet. It's just contemporary.
Well, I understand that, but I'm not asking about what's happening in our world right now. I'm asking the most recent one that's been titled that.
Maybe modern. I mean, modern art is
Yeah, that makes sense.
very
Contemporary
clearly
art,
defined.
Modern art.
You know, maybe in, you know, like certain things get a certain label, you know, like stylistically, but
Yeah.
I honestly can't, in good faith, answer that question and present as though I know, because I really don't. I don't have a clue.
Well, I think we took that terrible ARTalk card and at least turned it into something.
You know, that's what we do here on Art One-on-One with the Pod Boss.
Magic. You create magic, as you said
We take turds
earlier.
and turn them into lemonade.
Nice.
Delicioso.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed your drink and mine, because
Yeah,
I don't know how you can drink that.
I really like. I don't hate this drink.
Well, I'm looking forward to ending this podcast so I can make my own drink.
Surprise, surprise! Mama needs a drink.
That one gave me heartburn. All right, well, we're going to wrap this one up today. Thank you for watching. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. Send our podcast out to someone you think that they would enjoy it, or, you know, get some new information out of it. Friends, family.
You know, any suggestions are good suggestions. So
Yes.
keep them coming.
Thanks for watching.